Welcome back to another Market Movers tutorial video. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot, and this week it's all about the numbers. If you're a numbers guy or gal, this week's episode is for you. Let's talk about ratios. Let's talk about intelligence. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. This week it's all about intelligence reports. If you're not familiar with intelligence reports, this is one of our pro features in Market Movers. And this is one of the features that I am personally the most excited about. We still have so much that we can do with these ratios over time, but I'm really excited to show you what we've done so far. So let's go over and take a look. In order to get to the intelligence reports, you go to your navigation bar and you'll find the intelligence reports section showing 3 different reports. One for grade ratios, one for variation ratios, and one for player ratios. And I'm going to start with this bottom one with the player ratios because this is actually one of my favorites. Click on the player ratio tab here, and what you can do with this is you can actually kind of go old school like you used to back in the 90s when you had your Beckett price guide and you used to look and say, okay, here's the price of a superstar, here's the price of a star, here's the price of a common, it's 3x, it's a multiplier. We're hearkening back to those days, and I want to look at this specifically for Luka Doncic to Trae Young. I'm going to choose players, and I'm just going to look at their rookie year for now, 2018. I don't want any specific sets or variations, but I do want to look at, let's say, the big 3 graded as I call them. Now right off the bat, what you're going to see is you have 3 different tabs here. You have the ending average, you have the 7-day average, and you have the 30-day average. The ending average is going to give you the most results. It's basically going to give you any of the cards that have sold, in the database. So as you scroll down, all the like cards between Luka Doncic and Trae Young, where the set and the variation and the grade are exactly the same. So the only variable here is Luka versus Trae. And if you scroll down, you're going to see there's about 150 different results that you can look at on the ending average data. And one thing that you'll notice right away is that this is going to give you your average. So in the case of Luka and Trae, this is showing that Luka is about 4.25 multiplier over Trae Young. And then it shows you some other information, some other statistical information here with the standard deviation, the median, the min, and the max. And if you come down here, what you'll see in this max is, first of all, this little exclamation point. And this is going to show you, it's just basically an alert saying, hey, there's an outlier here. There's something that's, more than usual. And what that is it's more than one standard deviation from the mean, from the average. And in this case, it's 15.48, which is obviously a massive, massive difference or increase from this 4.28 average. And what you'll notice is this is the Prizm Blue. This is the infamous Prizm Blue to 99. And this is just one piece of information that when you get in here and you study these ratios, you can really glean. Color matching has really become popular, especially on the high-profile players, especially on somebody like Luka Doncic. So if you're just looking at this top list of cards, you'll see the blue over Trae's blue, which is obviously not a color match to the Hawks jersey, 15.48. You'll come down here, you see the blue, yellow, green, which still kind of plays off of the Mavs uniform, much more than it does the Hawks, 7.7. Blue velocity, blue ice. There's a theme here, right? So that's just one thing that you can take away from this. Now, if you really want to compare the most accurate data, what I like to do is use the 7-day average. The ending average, again, is going to show you the most information. But if you end up in situations where, let's say the last sale date, isn't a recent one, like on this one, the blue ice. This is December 30th, whereas this one is March 15th. That's somewhat comparing apples to oranges in terms of time frames, just because the market obviously adjusts so much over time, up and down. So what I'm going to do is come over here to the 7-day average. And this is only going to show me the cards that have sold in the last 7 days for both Luka and for Trae. So if I'm scrolling down and I look at this, what I'm looking for are outliers. I'm looking for opportunities. And it's really important to note that this isn't screaming anything like buy here, sell here. And that's definitely not what we're trying to do with this data. What we're trying to do is just present the data to you in a meaningful way so that you can kind of do your own digging in and find possible opportunities. So this first one, this Ruby Wave PSA 9, what I can see is that the Luka recently sold on April 16th for $1,250. And what I can see is that the Trae most recently sold for $193. So that's obviously a much bigger, ratio. And you'll notice, again, ending average ratio was 4.28. This is a more realistic ratio, 3.66. This is the ratio, this is the number I might take in my mind if I were going to a card show or to my LCS or into a negotiation, and I'm looking at comparable Trey and Luka cards and trying to decide which one to buy and price them out. This is an easy, quick multiplier that I can use to take advantage of that. But back to this Ruby Wave, 6.47 is, it's not quite double the 3.66. So what's the story here? Obviously, this Ruby Wave, which, ironically enough is a color match in a way for the Hawks jersey, sold for $193. That seems really low to me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to come out and chart this card. And I can see that this card is actually decreasing and has been decreasing over the last 90 days. If I come down to detailed results, what I can see is that somebody recently got an absolute steal on this card at $182. That's what I can see. So I want to know if there's any more of them out there for $182. I'm going to click on the for sale on eBay and come out here and look. And I can come out here and I can see that there's actually no active auction listings right now on this card. So they're all buy it now. And actually, I'm going to do lowest first. And it looks like my best price is going to be either this one that's going to potentially take forever to get here from Australia, or really around $350 on a buy it now. So obviously that's a substantial difference from this one that just ended for $182 on an auction. So something really important to keep in mind is that you can get in here and do this research and look for these opportunities, and then look for those auctions. Keep an eye on them. Set a reminder to get on and log in and try to get a really good deal at the last minute. There's ways sometimes where you can take advantage of it just because there's a buy it now sitting out there. But in other cases, obviously the auctions tend to be the ones where you can find the best deals if people aren't paying attention to them or if they're ending at strange times. So no opportunities per se to buy on this one. But then if I come down here, let's see this Optic Hyper Pink. I'm not a big fan of the Hyper Pinks. Let's just say that that's not one that I'm particularly interested in buying into. But the Pink Ice I am a big fan of, and I've written about it in the past in my weekly card picks. I'm a big fan of the lower population, non-numbered cards out of Prizm, Pink Ice being one of them, which looks absolutely amazing, in my opinion, against the Mavs jersey, and also looks pretty good with the Hawks jersey. So if I come down here, 4.27, not technically an outlier, but that's at the high end of this ratio, 4.27. So the real question then here is, which one of these cards is priced, let's say, wrong, or which one is either too high or too low and is throwing this ratio off? Is this number too high at just under 3,000, or is the Trey at 693 too low? And my gut tells me that the Trey at 693 is too low. And part of the reason I know that is I had one of these Lukas. I know that it's hovered. I sold mine for, I think, 3,200, back in late 2020. I know it's hovered right around 2,900 to 3,300 consistently, and I can verify that by clicking on the chart here. And you can see, yeah, it's pretty much, stayed consistent around 3,000 over the last few months. So what about the Trey? If I come over here and I click on the Trey, I want the Trey Pink Ice. And I just want to see what's been happening with the trend on this card. And you can see it's been progressively going down, steadily going down. If I want even a little more context, I can go to the last 180 days. And I can see that this card, had this run up when Trey stuff, caught fire just right around the new year and just steadily coming down, including most recently where it came down to this $620 point. So what else can I do with this information? How else can I determine, is this a good buy? Well, what if I compare Trey's Pink Ice PSA 10 to his PSA 9 and check the ratio? Now what I see here at 2.18 ratio of the PSA 10 to the PSA 9, that's not normal. That is not a normal ratio. Normal ratio for PSA 10 to PSA 9 on modern, ultra modern rookies in basketball is going to be right around 3.5, somewhere between 3.3, 3.75. 2.18 is way too low. So again, what this is telling me is that either this number is too low or this number is too high. So there's another way that we can pivot into our variation reports to get another clue about, what's this card doing and what's the price? Is it reasonable? Is it too low like we suspect? So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to come back over to the ratios and I'm going to click on the variation ratios tab. And what I've done is I've actually put in 2018 Prizm basketball into my set, and I'm comparing Prizm Pink Ice to Prizm Base. And I've gone over to the 7-day average, and I can scroll down here, and what I can see right away is Trae Young's Prizm Pink Ice PSA 9 to his Prizm Base PSA 9, and also his Prizm Pink Ice PSA 10 to his base PSA 10. Now the overall average is 2.13. I can see that the PSA 9 is hovering around 2.42. The PSA 10 is at 1.8. So that is giving me another indication that this Pink Ice Trae Young is PSA 10 is too low, is possibly even somewhat criminally low. So that's another card that I could go out to eBay and look for, on sale, and there's some on auction. You've got some on PWCC ending tomorrow. You can, kind of scroll through here. And, these other cards, you can see there's always going to be ones that are way too high. But even if I do the buy it now and I click on lowest first, what I can see is that $885 is the lowest price. And that's probably around the fair price. That's probably around the fair price for this card, $885. If I were to come back over here and I look at the PSA 10 Luka, 3,000, let's say divided by 3.5, 3,000 divided by 3.5 is going to be $857. So definitely a card that's more around the $850 to $875 mark. I would keep an eye on this auction and see where are these auctions going to end in the next day. And if I can get this for around $650 to $700, I'm hitting that buy button, and I'm definitely taking that as an opportunity for this card to play catch up as the market equalizes. Okay, so that's one way that you can use player ratios, and you can pivot that information into the popular card charts and variation ratios. What are other options? So obviously we have more sports than just basketball. If we come back over to the variation ratios, I've put in 2019 and 2020 Prizm football, and I just want to compare all the Prizm silvers to the Prizm base. I'm back on the 7-day average, and I can see that the multiplier across all the cards in here is 6.13. And right away I can see that Tom Brady, everybody wants that refractor. And that's one thing I have definitely noticed when I look across the last 8 years, the last 20 years, honestly, of products like Prizm, Topps Chrome, Optic, other things, is that refractors sell. Don't chase the base cards of the veterans in random years. They don't hold the same value over time, but the refractors definitely do. Topps Chrome refractors are going absolutely crazy right now. Prizm silvers have been crazy for a long time. And in this case, Tom Brady's first in his Bucks. Obviously, we know he won the Super Bowl. Pretty important card in the grand scheme of things. And you can see that the multiplier is almost 16 on his Prizm silver raw compared to his base. So it's just an indication people really aren't chasing the base cards as much. There's tons of them. It's not as attractive of a card. And when you get into these veteran cards as opposed to the rookie cards, it's really more about the collectible and the attractiveness and all the other intrinsic value of the card, more so than like other rookie cards where people, they kind of want to have sometimes just that staple flagship base rookie card. Let's take a look at AJ Brown here. Here's another one where the silver is at over 10x his base card. And so what that's telling me is there might be some opportunity here in his base card. I'm going to check his popular card chart. Now, if I look at this chart, it's pretty much, you see some erraticness, and you see a lot of that in raw cards in this price range because shipping costs and other things factor into it. But it's really come down. Now, if I can get this card for around $12 and his silver is up around 115, you're looking at that 10x multiplier. So that's not a bad deal. And what about if I want a little bit, more context just to see what this card's done? I'm going to go back to the football season. The hype, let's say, started around August of last year until now. And it's still, relatively flat. So one thing I might look at is, okay, what about if I buy a handful of these, try to find an investor lot, and see about getting them graded. Obviously, we're waiting for PSA to open back up. You could go with one of the other grading companies. You can use, we're now offering CSG and BGS submissions through our partnership with Got Baseball Cards. So let's check the ratios. And you can see that his PSA 10 base, Pop 237, to his raw is 18.65. Even if we do the last 7-day average, let's say 14. And again, if you hit the, if you hit a PSA 9, you're looking at around $42. So you're basically making your money back. Now, granted, you're going to be sitting on this for a long time. You have to wait. You have to hope A.J. Brown still performs next year. There's a lot of gamble in that. So it depends on what your strategy is for investing. But if you're integrating and you want to do that, you can definitely go this route. And that's a huge multiplier. You got to factor in there's going to be more A.J. Browns of this card at PSA right now, and BGS and SGC, and all of them probably in their backlogs. But there is some potential opportunity there. Even if you just wanted to buy the base cards and scoop them up, there's a possibility that those could go up in this next year. $15 is pretty low risk. All right, let's pivot over to the grade ratios. And grade ratios, is we've kind of been getting a glimpse of that just now on the popular card charts. We have a grade ratios report. So I'm going to take you over there. And what I've done here is I'm comparing PSA 10 to PSA 9 for the years 2018 and 2017 Prizm basketball. So in anticipation of the playoffs, last year we saw what happened with players like Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray, who's obviously 2016. But these two classes have some big name players, people who are relevant for the playoffs. I'm talking about Luka, Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, et cetera, Bam Adebayo. And so you can kind of come in here, 7-day average, again, is what I like to do. And you can check and see where are the outliers. And right away, Colin Sexton, not a playoff player, but a guy who has really come into his own this year, a real, very dynamic scoring threat. Obviously, that big performance against Brooklyn. I think it was an overtime victory where he kind of put the team on his back and said, super team isn't enough to stop me. So 6.28 on his silver, $562 for the PSA 10, which honestly seems low to me. But then $89.50 for his PSA 9 silver, $89.50 for one of the most dynamic scorers, I would say from that rookie class, even from the last few years rookie classes. So I'm going to go out and chart this card. And one thing I like to make sure is, we do check all of our data. We vet all of our data. We have review processes in place for outliers. But I always like to come out right away and just check the detailed results and make sure that these look like legitimate sales. And they do. I mean, you can see different sales happening. This one, $76, 87, 105 on auction. So you're going to get that volatility on these, PSA 10 silvers. You're going to get some swings and, 20 or 30 bucks here or there. But overall, I mean, look at this card. Look at the trajectory on this card, just coming down, 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 down. Obviously, the Cavs out of the playoff picture. They're still rebuilding. They're still trying to figure out how all these young players on their team are going to fit in and gel. But Colin Sexton is a guy who seems to have a really bright future. So again, I like to go back and even see a little bit more context. And maybe let's go back to like October 1st and just see what's been going on with this card. And you can see it's kind of come back down to where it was last October. Anytime I see something like this, and I like to just, maybe show it by week, kind of clean it up a little bit. I mean, that screams opportunity to me. You're back down to a point where if you can get this card for under $100, $100 or less, you have a real, nice play there. So I'm going to click on this, for sale on eBay, come out here. Looks like the buy it nows are all around $125. Not sure if I'm a buy at that point. It's something to consider. But again, look for those auctions. This is just a really nice way to get, gather some information and look for opportunities. You can always save this, add this card to your favorites. You can set a price alert and say, hey, if there's more of them, you keep an eye on it. Say if there's more of them selling for $100, let me know, because maybe the market's stabilizing around that price point. So Colin Sexton, PSA 9. Definitely a card I would be looking into buying. You can go down this list and you can look at these, all of these. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell's Prizm Silver is the PSA 9 a buy. Come out here and check, see what's happening with the trend. You can see that the 10 looks like it's recently shot back up. Maybe there's an opportunity to catch the 9 while it's playing catch up. All right, so let's look at two more grade ratio reports before we're done today. So this next one, back to football, shifting our attention back to football. PSA 10 to PSA 9, 2019 Optic and Prizm football. You can see the 7-day average, the average multiplier 3.16. I'm not particularly interested in Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes cards. You know, he's got some weapons. They just got my boy Kenny Galladay. The Giants keep signing Detroit Lions receivers. First it was Golden Tate, now it's Kenny G. And but I'm not interested in his cards. But Kyler Murray cards, I am interested in. And I can see that Kyler's base PSA 10, which is a pop 1962, is at 4.06 multiplier over his PSA 9. So kind of wonder what's going on there. And you can see, look at that gem rate. I mean, you know, 1962 10s, 2337 9s. Not the best gem rate, under 50%. Potentially even more significantly under 50% since we haven't seen the rest of the grades. But I'm just going to click on this chart icon. And then real quickly, I'm going to actually add in the PSA 10 just to compare these things side by side. I like to look at the trend and try to see what's happening with both of these cards. Is one of them moving before the other one? And is there an opportunity to take advantage of that? And what I can see here is that it looks like there's some separation happening right at the end of this window between the 10 and the 9. So obviously, you know, football, people are starting to talk about football already. Kyler's cards have started to come up. Maybe now there's going to be some leveling off. People are starting to gobble up soccer because of the Euros this summer. And then you've obviously got the basketball playoffs coming up. There could be a little window, maybe even only a few weeks or a month here, where people forget about football. But if this PSA 9 is tapering down, you know, potentially more than the 10 is, there might be an opportunity there. So one thing I also like to do is to let's go back. I'd like to talk about context and just see what's been happening. I'm going to go back to just August 1st. Now this is the reason I like to do this, is because I want to know what's the history of this card. Where has it been and where is it now? That can help inform where is it possibly going in the future. And in this case, I mean, look at where this card was. Now granted, the pop counts have probably significantly increased since then, but Kyler's still, in my opinion, definitely the best quarterback from that 2019 class. At least so far, that's what he's shown. And this card, you know, the PSA 9, for example, was up around $240. PSA 10 around $1,000. Now both of these cards around $533 and $130. I'm gonna come down here and check the stats and just say $130. Yeah, that seems like I'm a buy, especially when the grade ratio, you know, is somewhat advantageous for the 9s if I can get it for that price point. So go out to eBay, check and see if there's any, you know, deals there. But it's really about big picture. That's why we don't put on here, you know, highlight one of these two cards and say buy this one, sell this one. It's not that crystal clear. It's about kind of using your intuition and analyzing the overall trend, the history of the card, you know, nuances of the overall market, what's happening with that particular player or with the set trending at a particular time, and taking advantage of that. So that's what, you know, I would do with Kyler Murray. That's an example of how I might look at him. The last one, let's go back and say you're interested in grading. You want to buy some raw cards, and you want to have a really good shot at getting a PSA 10. So again, grade ratios. This time I'm doing PSA 10 to raw. I'm doing 2019 and 2018 Revolution basketball. And the reason I'm doing Revolution is that I know Revolution historically and in those years has a really high gem rate. Optic and Contenders Optic, absolutely brutal. Buying raw, you can have a whole bunch of issues, especially with the hollows and the refractor, you know, the hollow parallels. Surface issues, the centering wasn't great. Whereas Revolution, I think because it's so busy, it kind of hides the surface issues if there are any. They just seem to grade really well, and I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm looking at the 7-day average for these players. You know, not a lot of data for PSA 10s, and it's because the population counts tend to be relatively low on the PSA 10 Revolution cards, which is another reason, you know, if I'm looking for a more rare Luka or Zion, those are pretty low population compared to his Prizm and other sets. So just something to keep in mind. But let's say LeBron. This is LeBron's first year Lakers. Obviously the pop count is pretty high here. I know that this card was up over $100, maybe $120 at one point. But look at the raw. I mean, $9. This is an opportunity where I actually did this, and I have some of these at PSA right now. Don't know when I'll ever get them back. You know, that I bought in some bulk lots. You can look for those on eBay. Be careful that they're not the scraps of what somebody already sold or that kind of thing. But you can definitely take advantage of this as an opportunity. And look at that, that's an 8x multiplier. Just pay attention to your grading fees and everything. But let's say you're not sure, like what kind of gem rate should I expect to get on this card? Well, if you click on chart this card, one thing that I like to do is actually just to do like, let me grab the PSA 9. And then what you'll see is this little button here, and this is actually just gonna navigate you right out to PSA's website. So I come out here and I can see population 2,142 on the PSA 9. Higher is 7846. So we're talking about a 78% gem rate. That's what I can see here, because if I add these two together, that's basically 10,000. Now I don't have the rest. I could click on the population and type in LeBron and look at the whole set, but that gives me enough to know a 78% gem rate on these LeBrons. That's pretty good math if you really wanted to send a bunch of these off to PSA. So you buy them for $9, you get an investor lot. Let's say you get 10 of them for $90. Maybe it's $100 shipped or something, and then you spend your $25 a card and wait forever to get them back. Over time, I don't know. I don't think this card is really going to come down that much. Maybe it will. The Lakers are obviously still looking really strong. People are loving LeBron in the Lakers jersey. There's some opportunities. So that's something you can look at too, is just try to look for the opportunities where certain sets that grade well, you can compare the PSA 10 to raw and look for the big opportunities. All right, well, this was a lot of fun for me. I hope it was entertaining and informational for you. I'm a big numbers guy. Everybody on our team knows that. I love getting in there and crunching numbers and looking for these opportunities. I can't wait to do more videos like this in our live streams and just answer questions and go deep diving for hot deals using ratios. We have a lot more planned for ratios and for broader numerical analysis, so certainly more videos to come in the future for that. If you like this video, please click that like button. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. We're doing all kinds of really fun things. We're wrapping up near the end of our tutorial video series, and we'll be shifting more into week-to-week analysis, looking for buy-sell opportunities, doing some would you rathers, a whole bunch of fun stuff planned. So make sure to subscribe, smash the bell icon so that you're notified every time we have a new video. And until next time, happy investing and happy collecting.